Oh, Blink. Blink, 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 my blinky bills. Blink-182! Why must you do this to me? I have been trying my best not to be such a doomer about this album coming out. At this point, it feels like such a cliche of a band I loved in my youth releasing an album I don't like. Hell, when I relaunched my channel in 2020, one of my first videos back was about Green Day's Father of All. Geez, could you tell I was influenced by Todd in the Shadows? And before you comment, no. One More Time is not Blink-182's Father of All, I can guarantee you. That video did really well for a channel that had been dead for a long time with only about 300 subs. But after that, I kind of started chasing that video's success to largely diminishing returns until I just stopped reviewing new releases entirely, instead focusing on more long-form content, more videos that genuinely interest me, and a general change in format to non-retrospectives. This helped me a lot, giving me the best views I've ever gotten in a cool little community. But I just had a bad feeling about this record, and I had an inkling that it would come to this. Honestly, I got bad vibes from the get-go of finding out that my boy Tom was rejoining the band. Of course I was over the moon and swiftly bought tickets to see them live with my sister, who's also a massive Blink fan, and that tour must be doing really good. They're playing 5 nights at the Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne, and it's not the biggest venue here in the city, but 5 nights at a place that can hold over 20,000 people is still super impressive. But as soon as the band announced their comeback, they started teasing their new song, Edging. Haha, very funny guys. Given how long it was rumored that Skiba was out and DeLong was back in, Edging is one hell of a pun. But the short clips I heard of the song did not impress me. I tried to quell these negative feelings because you can't tell much from like 5 seconds of a verse, but it just reaffirmed all my fears about new Blink music, even with such a vital member returning. Let me preface this by saying that I got into this band when I was about 13 and starting high school. That was the age when I started to find my own music that wasn't my dad's or anything. I still loved bands like Kiss, Judas Priest, and Metallica, but they weren't mine like how Blink were. There's a certain bond you have to music and art in general you discover during that period of your adolescence. Nostalgia is one hell of a drug. Hell, it makes me wonder if I'd still have such a soft spot for bands like Sum 41 if I hadn't gotten into them during, as you'd expect, a somewhat volatile period of my teenage years. But Blink-182 is such a lightning rod for my personal taste in music. They're not exactly my favorite band ever anymore or anything like that, but if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gone to so many bands that they consistently praise, like Descendants, All, Dag Nasty, Jimmy Eat World, or the Ramones. And to this day, I listen to records like Miley Goes to College, All Roy's Revenge, Can I Say, Clarity, and Rocket to Russia much more than most of Blink's classic catalog. And I relate to a song like Coolidge much more than Anthem Part 2. But Anthem Part 2 will always tickle me in a way that even the best of any of the above mentioned bands just can't. Blink are that special to me. And I mentioned I got into them when I was beginning high school, but unlike some fans, I'm currently 24, which means it was 2012 when I first started my secondary school education. And what record came out the year prior? Why, none other than... Dum 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 dum. And let me just say, you guys are way too fucking harsh on this record. It's by no means perfect, there's some filler tracks, and the sonic parallels to Angels and Airwaves cannot be understated, but there's so many great tracks here that showed Blink maturing. By this point, the guys are approaching their 40s, so a shift in songwriting should have been expected. Travis is as good as ever, Mark and Tom's voices are still pretty good, and I don't even think they use pitch correction all that much. When we get to One More Time, you'll understand why I praise this. Tom's guitar work is more lush than ever, and he still has the ability to write some really catchy riffs. Hell, I even like the synths. I think they add to the sound rather than take away from it. For the first time ever, this band's sound is downright dense. I mean, how can you argue with songs like Wishing Well, Love is Dangerous, and Even If She Falls? Those songs are top tier Blink, and you can't convince me otherwise. And you might think, oh, this is the most recent record we got to the band. Of course you still like it. Nostalgia and all that, I was just talking about it. But I've gone back to this record so many times over the years, as recently as like 2 months ago, and I still really enjoyed it, barring any nostalgia. In fact, if anything, I enjoy it even more now. I don't get how some people were expecting Enema Part 2 when the band's for many years' final record was also a really mature and a relatively challenging listen. Then we got the Dogs Eating Dogs EP, and I didn't even realize it came out until a few months after the fact, at which point I didn't even care a whole lot because I was getting into way different bands. But I shouldn't have slept on it because this EP is really solid too. I mean, Boxing Day is a little on the saccharine side for my taste, but I still like it. Yelawolf's inclusion on Pretty Little Girl is not great and doesn't really fit at all, but the rest of the song is still quite good. And we also got songs like When I Was Young, which is just a towering triumph of a track. In fact, it focuses on a similar theme that One More Time as an album does. looking back at the past, but with a more cynical edge. And unlike a lot of that album, especially the title track, this song is actually really interesting instrumentally. And the other songs are great too. Don't sleep on this EP like I did, it's quite underrated. Next up, Tom left the band in a not great way. The whole situation could have been handled way better on his part, and it was because of this that Tom kinda became public enemy #1 for a little while. He was holding up the band recording a new record, he was seen as the reason for their last album being so different to their previous output, and to a lesser degree, his live performances became something that kinda became hard to defend.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry.
So it made sense that everyone was happy to kick a man who wrote many of the band's biggest and best songs to the curb. Everyone except me. Yep, I was a Tom apologist even back then. I love Mark and Travis too, of course, but Tom was always my favorites. The guy sang Not Now, I can't just turn my back on him that easily. The guy's riffs informed my guitar playing, in fact to some extent I'm probably still ripping the guy off. And even though I'm a Tom stan, I was at least hopeful for a new record without him. I'm not a total loyalist when it comes to bands I like. Hell, my favorite Black Sabbath record features Dio as the singer for God's sake. I didn't know Tom's replacement, Matt Skiba, too well, so I had no real feelings one way or another. I think my only exposure to him was his guest verse on a H2O song that I was familiar with. But then their debut single for the new album came out, Bored to Death, and any excitement I had seeped away. It was just fine. And the rest of the album left me fairly unimpressed when it came out. There's some pretty lazy songwriting to be found, woes and na-nas are frequently used in place to actually write hooks, there's no memorable riffs, and many times Matt Skiba's voice is just too similar to Mark's. He's by no means a bad singer, but part of what made Blink so special is how well Tom and Mark's voices work together. Their voices were incredibly distinct, which made songs where they both sang like Pathetic, Stockholm Syndrome, and I Miss You work so well. Their voices mixed together are like chocolate and peanut butter, but it took me several listens to even notice that the second verse of Bored to Death isn't sang by Mark. Overall, California as an album is not that bad. I actually dig the song Los Angeles. And the only songs I think I downright loathe are Built This Bull and Bohemian Rhapsody, which are piss-poor attempts at humor. I mean, a lot of their old joke songs haven't aged well either, but at least I never put them on their proper albums as anything other than bonus tracks. California isn't an awful rock record, but it's a terrible Blink-182 record. It's got none of the band's original chutzpah, and that's what happens when you take out what is essentially a third of the band with a guy who in comparison is nowhere near as flamboyant or as charismatic. It's basically plus 44, but with a much better guitar player. And maybe it's just me, because I don't really care for Rockline Trio either. They just don't really do anything for me, I'm sorry. I prefer the disgruntled old men version of Calling All Skeletons, thank you.
Only just begun, it's been fun. We're fucked up and numb.
Oh, and 9 just fucking sucked. I have no kind words for it at all. I remember when I listened to it for the first time, I just got home from a shitty wage slave fast food job, so picture me crunched over my computer, playing Minecraft, covered in deep fryer grease because my body was too broken to shower, and listening to this album just having the worst time. It's way more mainstream, and I hate using this word, but it feels like a sellout, with its 5 producers in total and the copious amount of outside songwriters. You guys are supposedly a punk band, but you can't even write your own songs? Do you really need Bebe Rex's songwriting team that bad? There's simply too many cooks in the kitchen. And several of these cooks I wouldn't even trust to make a bowl of cereal. Look at the personnel, there's enough people to repopulate the earth here. Compare this to their classic records and it's pitiful. I mean sure, that's kind of how albums are nowadays. But even One More Time realized that it was too much, so 9 has no excuse. This record is a muddled mess. We have the inane pop rock of Dark Side, which is about having a crush on a big titty goth GF and pretending you fall asleep to Disintegration by The Cure every night. Runaway is a mid-tempo dirge. I Really Wish I Hated You sounds like a song that Fall Out Boy would have left on the cutting room floor. Generational Divide is a bizarre attempt at hardcore. On Some Emo Shit is embarrassing because Blink was only ever emo superficially, besides Maybe I Miss You. You guys were never Jimmy Eat World, as much as you wish you were. And Blame It On My Youth may just be the worst song this band has ever done. It's so bad. Every choice made is a wrong one. The intro sounds like a royalty-free YouTube intro. The poor excuse of a hook is ear-grating and lazy. The lyrics are insipid and falsely congratulatory. Yeah, we made it through so much hardship, but we're here and rocking, bro. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you remember that by this point, this band is a mere shadow of what they once were. The Mark Hoppus who recorded Dude Ranch would think whoever recorded this is a poser. Nine really did a number on this band. It's a little sad. They released some more singles and even some collaborations. The less said about those, the better. I just stopped caring at that point, though. A lot of those releases didn't even include Matt. They kinda did that guy dirty, I'm not gonna lie. I doubt it was his fault that they brought in the Cavalry to record that last album, and public opinion started to shift a little bit. Tom and his Chasing Aliens actually proved to be productive, and the newest Angels and Airwaves album was actually well liked by most fans, including myself. I was never a huge Ava guy, but Lifeforms wasn't bad at all. Compared to 9, it was a goddamn masterpiece. And even Neighborhood started to get some retroactive praise from the fanbase. Good on you, John, I knew you had it in you. So a new record with the man himself was almost guaranteed, but they still teased us like a non-advertiser friendly analogy. So last year, the reunion was announced, and not too long after, the new song was unleashed, and I ain't that cool, a little fucked in the head. They'll be hanging me quick when I'm back from the dead. God, I just didn't like it at all. It's very jovial and jokey, which coming from a 47-year-old autotune Tom DeLonge feels a little forced. She tried to pay it away, so I fucked her in church. It doesn't help that this is supposed to be the grand return from the original guitarist, and the most interesting the guitar playing gets is the forgettable sliding octave pattern in the verse. Like a ghost, like a ghost, like a ghost. Slide! And like Blaming on My Youth, it has this self-congratulatory chorus, and it's a little self-indulgent for my taste. No way, no, I leave the broken hearted. Oh no, look at the mess we started. Mark and Tom's voices aren't great either. Mainly Tom. Their vocals are so processed and obviously pitch corrected to the moon and back. Sure, they were never great singers, and I know that recording vocals used to suck for them because they used to record take after take just so all the vocals would be decently in key for the record.
I think that singing's the worst part of recording, just because it's on tape how bad you really are as a singer.
You know what recording is like? Recording is like doing this for 4 months in a row. So you're right. You're out of key.
So I can kind of see why they'll be like, man, fuck it, just fix it in post. But that shows such a lack of care in their own music. And at the end of the day, they're at least kind of a punk band, since when is perfection the name of the game? Like I said, I'm pretty sure they also use pitch correction and post-processing on their voices for Neighborhoods and Dogs Eating Dogs, but it was way less evident there. Maybe just because they're older and their flaws are much harder to mask, but in that case, take some fucking singing lessons if it takes this much to correct your vocals. Milo from The Descendants still sounds great, and he's 60. You guys have no excuse. And I know this is kind of minor, but Jesus Christ, why is the YouTube upload of this song so compressed audio-wise? Don't you know? Don't you know? Who produced this, Travis Barker or Rick Rubin? And what's with these colors or lenses or whatever they used? I'm not a cinematographer, I don't know much about cameras, but I do know what looks good. And the band looks so much older than what they really are because of the poor work done with the lighting or whatever it is. It reminded me of Jay and Silent Bob reboots and how Kevin Smith made Jason Mewes look like the Crypt Keeper. Then 11 months later we got the next two singles, a double A-side of what would become the title track of the next album, One More Time, and More Than You Know. The former is an acoustic ballad which they haven't done since What Went Wrong, I think, and that's one of my all-time favorite Blink songs. Too bad One More Time kinda sucks. There's no memorable instrumental hooks like the arpeggiated riff and What Went Wrong, and combine that with the guys' vocal performances that sound like they're under the usage of melatonin, it sounds really boring in comparison to that song. Right now feels the same, I wonder why. Once more it hits you with a self-congratulatory theme. Thankfully, it's more about the guys becoming friends again, which is wholesome. But the video just has to throw in all these member berries of the band's past to pull at people's heartstrings. It's almost as if they knew that the song on its own wasn't good enough, so they made this slapdash video with cheap ass green screen. It's at least done decently well considering, but I'm still not impressed. I really don't care if Travis got to sing 2 lines, the song still sucks. Thankfully, More Than You Know is actually pretty decent. Unlike the previous singles, this song actually has some, God forbid, energy. The one thing Blink has nearly always done well, so God only knows why they didn't let this song slip until now. But besides its energy and an actual good performance from Tom, the song doesn't offer too much to get excited about, but so far it's still the best track. Jesus Christ. Then there was Dance With Me, which has this funny little intro.
When I teach masturbation, I'm always just like, have fun with it.
God, I'm so tired. And holy shit, we're 4 singles into this album, we finally have some interesting stuff going on with the guitars. Granted, it's only a somewhat little repetitive intro riff, but it's still kinda neat. Speaking of neat, I also dig this video. The Ramones homage is inexplicable, but I can always get down to showing love for the Ramones. Though this song would be so much better if they didn't just give up on the lyrics. Dude, these are impromptu scratch vocal lyrics that you make up on the spot so you can remember the melody for later. But at some point Tom was probably like, good enough. No, Tom, it isn't good enough. You can do better. It sounds unfinished. It sucks because this song is the best so far, but they couldn't even finish it. After that, I gave up listening to the new singles. If you release more than 2 pre-launch singles, then you're already putting me off. But the album came out just today as I'm writing this first draft of my script. It kinda sucks for me because it's 7 AM in the morning and I've had no sleep. I just finished watching Hereditary because it's October, and I was tired and I saw some people in the Scoop Mids Discord bring up the new Blink record. We've been discussing it single by single and none of us were particularly impressed. And the talk of the new record made me say fuck it and at like 1 in the morning listen to a few tracks before going to bed. But as I started bitching to Elver Galarga, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation of your name, dude. At that point, I knew for sure. Oh, this is gonna be a video, isn't it? And I somehow didn't really notice it until listening to this album proper with its opening track, Anthem Part 3. But holy shit, I do not like Travis Barker's production at all. The drums are far too loud and clicky sounding. At points it sounds like MIDI drums. And this is Travis Barker we're talking about. Travis, how do you fuck up your own drums in post? They're so loud that they drown out the guitar somehow, and it makes it sound smaller. And it's a shame because Tom is doing some cool stuff here, but it sounds like a hot mess. It's funny to think about because I can't say I've given Travis's production efforts much thought. The only one I've actually heard all the way through was Machine Gun Kelly's Mainstream Sellout, which I only heard out of morbid curiosity. And I was having a bad enough time enduring the awful songwriting to even give the production much thought. But damn, if this is what he's capable of, then I am mystified as to why he's so in demand right now. Don't get me wrong, I love Travis Barker. He's proven on more than a few occasions that he's more than just a drummer. But he's no Jerry Finn, to put it very lightly. Besides the production, I guess Anthem Part 3 is decent, so I can see it going down well live. Tom is weirdly straining his voice, but it's fine.
Everything that we've tried, we'll keep waking up to that light.
Fell in Love features an interpolation of The Cure's Close to Me, and instrumentally it's okay because they're building off an already good song, but the lyrics make it sound kind of dull and lame. And the vocal effects are even worse here. It's not even pitch correction, it's full-blown Cher Life After Love autotune at this point. Tom sounds like he's singing underwater. Just listen to the original Cure song, it's a much better use of your time. The next song, Terrified, is an old Boxcar Racer song that never made the original album, and it sounds like it. This is by far my favorite on the record. It's really heavy with a sick guitar tone, and it's really cool to hear Mark sing backing vocals on what's basically a Boxcar Racer song. I also like the distortion effects added to Tom's voice in the chorus. It gives the song a really cool edge, and the verses have some subtle electronica, and it gets really sparse, and it clashes in a great way with the chorus. I still have my overall gripes with the production, but I'll try and stop harping on about it because I'll sound like a broken record otherwise. Turn This Off is a redundant, jokey, short song. It's not as inane as Built This Pool, but there's at least somewhat of a musical idea, but it's not worth taking a second look at. Then there's When We Were Young, which I thought would maybe be a redo of the song When I Was Young from Dogs Eating Dogs, but it's not. I don't think there's any relation besides the obvious subject matter indicative of the title. It's a peppy song with some neat ideas, especially in the instrumental section, but that cymbal is just so ear-grating. It sounds like the mic recording it is clipping or something. I'm sorry, I said I'd stop talking about the production, but what the fuck? Once you notice that harsh ride cymbal in the right channel, you can't unnotice it. But yeah, decent song. But When I Was Young from Dogs Eating Dogs totally smokes When We Were Young, and it's not even close. You Don't Know What You Got is a decent track. It's reminiscent of the song One More Time, but this one feels more urgent since some of the lyrics talk about Mark's battle with cancer and how he beat it like the Chad he is. And instrumentally, there's way more going on with it to be invested into. In fact, listening to this, I dislike the title track even more since the song hits a similar theme and just way more fun to listen to. Blink Wave is also pretty decent. Holy shit, I'm all of a sudden getting positive. What happened? I thought this was supposed to be a negative review. It's obviously a homage of sorts to new wave music, which the guys are big fans of, as you could tell with their worship of The Cure. It kind of reminds me of Neighborhoods, but with a bit more bite. Tom isn't holding anything back with his performance here, and I can see the song aging pretty well with me. Bad News I also like. Holy shit, is this album converting me? It's not mind-blowing, but it's a nice and fast punky song with Mark bearing his heart out on the mic, and I can always get down with that. The Hurt interlude is pointless. It doesn't even work as an interlude since it barely connects the two tracks it's sandwiched in between. Yawn. Turpentine has some interesting things going on, but it reeks of filler. It doesn't really do much to differentiate itself from other tracks other than some tremolo picking. It's not bad, but I don't see myself going back to this song. Fuckface is actually a fun hardcore song that's only 27 seconds long. Total Black Flag vibes. Much better than the other super short song. I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's at least unique. Other Side is just kind of boring. They could have totally left the song on the cutting room floor and not much would be lost. Similar thing with Turpentine, but that song at least had a little more going for it. The final track, Childhood, starts with some Strawberry Fields-esque organ. But that's the only thing I really like. The production really becomes overbearing in the chorus, nothing has any room to breathe, and Tom and Mark's voices once again sound processed and pitch corrected. It's super distracting, and I never thought there'd be a day when Tom and Mark harmonizing with each other would sound this repulsive. It almost sounds like AI at points, I'm not kidding, it kinda sucks. And that's One More Time. It is 17 tracks.
Fuck me, I guess.
It goes without saying, but who wanted a Blink-182 album that's 17 tracks long? Granted, most of the songs are on the shorter side, and it's only 45 minutes in total, but that only proves the point that so many of these songs are half-baked. Why write 10 good songs when we can write 17 mediocre to bad ones? Sure, I like some songs, but I don't think I really loved any of them. I could see myself going back to Terrified and Blink-Wave for sure, and I hope they play those songs live when I see them, but the jury's out on the rest of the album. I guess we'll see how it ages, but I don't like its chances. This album just makes me kinda sad. The reunion was so anticipated, but this album is so underwhelming, and most in the Discord seem to feel the same way. It kinda sucks. But I also know a lot of people are really digging on this album. I saw Little Red Guitar say he liked it, and I'm glad that this album is connecting for so many people. As if it wasn't already obvious, if you love this album, then that is totally fine. This video is an attack on you, and I'm glad that you enjoy it so much. I wish I did too. It sucks being the odd man out. Sure, I can make a negative video and get some views, but that's never been important to me. I'd much rather sit here and tell you how great it is. This video is only an attack on you if you feel the need to leave a pissy comments because you disagree with an opinion on the internet. Grow up, you fucking baby. And hey, I still look forward to seeing them live next year, but I'll probably take a piss break whenever they play some of these new songs. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments below, but just try and be decent. That's all I ask. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and share if you enjoyed the video. But anyways, take it easy, party people.
Hey, Pipsqueak, the cat still got your tongue?
Hey, Dinkweed, Mom still got your balls?